Hello everyone, welcome to the Bhat Show. Today we have a very interesting journey of a Ukrainian director who has made a significant impact on the Indian storytelling scenario. We are very honored to have with us Dar Gai, the co-founder of Jugaad Motion Pictures and the director behind some of the most iconic music videos such as Kusur, Cold Mess, Liggi and Sage. And it does not end here. She's also the director behind some of the most highly acclaimed films such as Teen Aur Aadha and Namdev Bhau. And also, we will delve into a new and upcoming specialized field of the film industry, the intimacy department, where she has made a significant impact in establishing it as a field. It all started with her work as an intimacy director in the film Gehraiyaan. So, like I said, stay tuned for this very interesting and unique journey. So, is it right to say that Anand Mahindra influenced you to stay back in India?
I don't know, there was like metaphorical advice or literal, but I just like heard it and I just jumped on the train and almost like for 1 month I was traveling around.
You actually did
Yes, because Jugaad is the only way how you make a film.
Correct.
Whether you're making a Marvel film or you're making super independent indie film,
At every level there's
Yeah.
Jugaad. Yeah.
even though there is nothing so-called intimate, but the question is like, how do you define intimacy? A lot of people think that intimacy direction is all about, let's say, like sexual explicit scenes, but even touch can be sexual or intimate. Because of theater, I wanted to explore filmmaking and direction of filmmaking. It wasn't a very clear path. It's not like, okay, now I want to become a director.
Okay.
It's like, I want to be in arts. I want to create. And I remember we went to see Anurag Kashyap. We told him about the idea, he really liked it, he read the script, and we asked him, so what next? And he said, yeah, what's next? We're like, what do you mean? So, will you come on board? He's like, yeah, absolutely, I'll come on board. He's like, okay, so what next? He's like, what next? Make the film. And we thought that he will help. And his idea was that if you're a filmmaker, you will find the ways how to make a film.
Hi, welcome.
Thank you.
How are you feeling first of all?
In which sense? There's so many different layers to this question. But like the usual questions, like, yeah, everything is great, but there are much more deeper, I think, options to this answer.
So let's keep that for the entire interview.
Yeah.
We'll pick that out, okay? So, so like,
weird question. Should I ask questions first? Do you have ever this feeling, like weird feeling where people ask you, so hey, how are you? And somehow every time I don't know how to answer because there's so many options in my head just rushing through. And it's not just like, oh yeah, should I be honest or not honest? No, it's just like so many different options.
Yeah.
And then you just go with the simple one. It's like, yeah, thank you, I'm okay.
So my
And
first question is totally gone waste.
yeah, hey, so how are you?
I'm doing well. I'm great. Yeah, and it's a genuine, honest reply. Yeah. I'm actually.
But
Fine.
if you need to like look really inside.
Well, for that you'll need to take a podcast with me. So, like I was saying before this, so we started this with this motive of just interacting with people. Of course, we have a lot of podcasts, a lot of interviews where people who are working in front of the screen, we speak to them, we get to know them. But also we want to focus on people who are working behind the camera. And we believe that they are a very important, of course, the spine of the industry. And so interestingly, we've also found a lot of people with diverse fields, like we've done with action director, and then we have done with production designer. And they were very interesting takes to what they had to say. And of course, your filmography, apart from whatever you have done, I'll begin with the intimacy direction topic, and slowly we'll go on to your other filmography and your production house. Yeah. So, so first of all, just to understand for the audience, we also have audience who are non-film background. So just to understand, what does a intimacy director do, and where did this come from? First of all, in our industry, it is still a very new, kind of a department, and people are getting used to it. Where did this come from? What do you feel is the need for it, and where do you think it is going?
I think I will just reply as a director, because whenever I direct, I always invite intimacy directors on my set whenever it's required, because that's what my specialty is, and this is what my profession is. And when I call intimacy director, I just do it because I want my actors. It's not just about feeling safe or feeling secure in what they are doing. It's also important person who can talk to your actors and who can deliver information that maybe you might feel awkward to say, or you don't know how to exactly explain them certain things that you want in the scene. And intimacy director is the person who will, on the one hand, design the scenes, will make actors comfortable, will talk them through each and every action, will question, are they comfortable doing something, what's their ideas. They will workshop all the possible ideas, and then they will take it to the director. So like recently I was shooting something for a series, and it was with young adults, and it was just like a scene where a kiss is there. It's like almost like a pack.
Yeah.
But even though there is nothing so-called intimate, but the question is like, how do you define intimacy? A lot of people think that intimacy direction is all about, let's say, like sexual explicit scenes, but even touch can be
Intimate.
Sexual or intimate.
Yeah.
Even hug, even kiss, even just like look at each other. And I think intimacy directors are the ones who are able to create the landscape for all possible opportunities for the director to explore those feelings. So when I was shooting the scene, even though it was just a pack, I called my intimacy director. We went through the workshops with the actors, because we didn't want it just to be kiss that everyone has seen before. We want to have something that, yes, of course, actors feel comfortable, they feel safe, and it feels genuine, it feels unique, it feels pure. So purity can come out only when actors themselves, they know what they are doing, they know the motivation of the director to put that scene. And intimacy director is that link that helps to the scriptwriter, to the director, to the actor, to find the meaning in the action that they were giving. So like usually when I have anything which is, I feel intimate, as I said, even it can be a hug. I always work, for example, with Neha Vyas, who takes the actors through the workshops. She speaks to them. They speak about their childhood. They speak about what they love, what they're comfortable with, what makes them express themselves, what love, what intimacy means for them. And then she takes them through the scene. And it's not just about informing them, it's also about brainstorming, because all of us sitting in this room, we have such a different experience of intimacy. And how can you bring that on screen? So it's like, imagine you're just sitting with a cinematographer. You have an idea in your head how you want to design the scene, but cinematographer helps you to come out with unique ways, maybe technical ways, to bring your vision or your feeling of the scene into life. And same goes for an intimacy director.
So I'm assuming this happens at a very early stage of scripting, like when you appoint an intimacy director, or it is.
Ideally, it should be at the script level. Like
because then only it makes sense. Right?
Exactly. Oh, well, everything makes sense. If you do it on the script level, then you just brainstorm about even the dialogues, the scenes, the kind of like unique details that you can bring throughout the script, right? If you, let's say, do it a bit later and you do it during the workshop time with the actress, again, you have enough time to change certain vision that maybe you had. Even if you do it super late and you do it mostly for safety of the actors, just from those perspectives, so many interesting ideas will come out. Because when, imagine like right now, we're just sitting in this room and you are forced, let's say, I don't know, to kiss someone. You will feel awkward, even though you're an actor and you can adapt to that. But your first reaction that we, as the audience, subconsciously will catch, maybe your fist will be like that. You know that your body is not ready to express the physical love that you're supposed to feel towards the person, right? So how to open up? And to open up, the first solution is information, like inform the actor.
And how does this happen? Sorry, it's just like you chat with the actor, or are there some like exercises to it or something?
So it's an entire system that was created, and when I went through that, when I experienced it as a director, I felt very secure. You take your actors through. First, you read the script together.
Okay.
You talk through the your experiences with something similar topics. Then we will go through the workshop. So I think that how my entire journey started, and how a lot of people mistakenly think that this is my career. I would love this to be a career, but I'm considering something else on direction. Is that I've done several music videos that explored the theme of sexuality as a director. One of them was called Mass by Prateek Kuhad. And during the shoot, for us, it was very important to explore how actors can create a chemistry on the screen. And with both of the actors, with Jim Sarp and Zoe Hussain, I worked before on feature films, music videos. So I felt that I knew how to use the chemistry that they have, and they're incredible actors, the way how they respond to each other, the way how they improvise with each other. And I shot the video, and it was an interesting exploration of something that so many friends of mine, myself, went through, which is that we are toxic relationships, right? When it's like love and hate at the same time.
It was a very poetic, like a description of a relationship.
Yeah,
and it just felt very,
but and at the same time, so painful. So irritating. Like I remember when I was going through that, like when you are in the cab and you hate that person, and then suddenly you're like, you turn lelo, right? And you're going back to the same person, and it just like goes into the cycle. So I was wondering how to show it cinematically on screen, and what are the tools to bring it through. And then I had one of my friends who, at that point in time, he was writing really beautiful script that turned out to be a film, Gehraiyaan, right? So Shakun Batra, he saw the video and he really liked it, and we always had the discussion about the chemistry between the actors, how to create it, how to make them feel comfortable. So he called me one day and he said, "Do you want to come on my set? I'm shooting a film finally, the one that I was writing." I was so excited because it was a beautiful concept. It was interesting treatment that he had in mind, and he asked me to direct 2 music videos.
Okay.
Which will be part of the film. I'm like, right, amazing. And it was also pandemic time, right? So I went on the set and I wrote scripts for both of my music videos. And then he's like, "Do you want also to take workshops with the actors?" I'm like, yes, of course. Like I always think that workshops are integral part of any director-actor relationship, because this is how you create the connection. This is how you connect to the material that you will be doing. This is how you brainstorm. And then we start developing very tight system working with the actors, right? For just taking them through the, I think we had like 5-6 days of rehearsals, of different workshops, different exercises. Neha Vyas also was working with me. This is when we met, and we were exploring the idea of intimacy direction, intimacy coordination was just introduced to us. And I've done.
How did the actors perceive it? Like, I mean, I'm just assuming, like, for example, Deepika Padukone, she's been working since a couple of decades now. And, they become, in India specifically, everybody becomes used to a certain kind of working. And then something new comes up to them. It's just interesting to know how.
It's interesting. I think a lot of people warned me that the reaction can be a bit unexpected. And I remember I entered the workshop and they see me and I introduced myself and I said that we will be going through the intimacy exercises to create chemistry. And I think as soon as you explain your purpose, why you're you're not just doing it just for fun, or I had such a great idea, let's just do the exercise together. When you know how me giving you 5 days of my time will benefit me, will benefit the script that we are working on, will benefit the film that we are working on, it changes completely the reaction of people whom you will be working with. And as soon as I explained the plan that we had together with Shakun, with Neha, what my system of workshops would be. They were so responsive. So Deepika was so inspiring because I just seeing someone who is open to learn, open to explore herself, open to see what are the possibilities, how I can push certain boundaries. Do I need to do it? How I can feel comfortable in certain things or not comfortable, and therefore not to do it. It was very inspiring.
No.
So I think this is what I always miss. In the industry, it's just a clear path for the actors of knowing why I'm doing what I'm doing. My concern was always coming from, because I observed certain shoots where you see the director who is telling to their actors, just kiss, just more passion. Yeah, I want to see passion in your eyes. It doesn't work like that. So what should I do, right? We need to create the environment in which I feel safe to feel those feelings towards you as my actor, right? As the partner on the screen. And you need to feel safe to accept those feelings. How we can accommodate it? How can we create the room of people where, imagine like in real life, you have hundreds of people just looking at you kissing someone. It's abnormal. It's unnatural, right? Like if we're just like coming to our like body and mind as human beings. But can we create the environment in which I feel safe? So there are a lot of different rules in intimacy direction, intimacy coordination, when you clear the entire room, where you have only necessary people on the set. For example, when I was shooting my music video, it was just Shakun, Neha, actors, cinematographer, gaffer if needed, and sound, and focus, and hardly anything else, right? Anyone else? Because can you create the intimate environment in which I just feel safe to express myself, or sometimes even to say yes or to say no? So this is how everything happened. And then I stayed longer, and then I was also involved in just like other scenes as advisor. So when the film came out, I think everything was just about, intimacy direction. I think intimacy direction is incredible, but I was just surprised that was just like main concentration, because at the end of the day, like my experience in it is also limited. They are much stronger with incredible experienced professionals like Neha, for example, working in industry with certificate, because there is several bodies abroad that are responsible to develop your skills, to give you certificate.
So the actual education you can take in this field.
Yes. Okay. And I was very happy that Shakun introduced me to the entire system, where now I am as a director, I know how I can make my set just simpler, easier, safer, fun. It's more fun, right? Because when you are prepared for what you need to do, and your actors, you see that they are happy and not just like awkward and they look at you as an enemy, the entire environment on the set is different. So this is what makes me happy. I know like different directors, they still hesitate about it, and usually then I suggest them to maybe limit the interaction of an intimacy director or intimacy coordinator, and just have it only for comfort of the actors, and avoid creative involvement if they don't prefer it. But there's so many different ways of interacting with them. I just love creative interaction with intimacy directors, because sometimes they come to you and they're like, what if we have this idea, we'll have that idea, that, and then you can hear everything and choose what's interesting for you.
And is it like a hierarchy, like intimacy director, then coordinator, or what's the exact role? And yes, intimacy coach also I've heard. So like if you could define.
Yeah, I think it depends on the project. It depends on whom you need to use in your film. Usually you have intimacy director who just looking at, I would say it's like director of the film, and intimacy coach is more maybe like a line producer or like a producer. Okay. Intimacy director is looking at also creative part, looking at different department. In this case, it would be intimacy coordinator, where the intimacy coordinator is responsible to more factual check on, are you okay doing that? You will be signing certain contract of saying that I will as agreed to do only this, let's say only like kissing, and then suddenly if someone tells you just strip down, it wasn't in the contract, you're not comfortable doing that. So intimacy coordinator will just taking care of all the, in a way, organizational moments around it. Intimacy coordinator have different tools to make you comfortable. Like, for example, if there is a sex scene and you have two people who are just making love to each other, and you just feel uncomfortable that certain parts of your body touch partner, then there are different like tools to protect it, like different pads that you can put here,
So there's
different
a kit
pads.
that,
Yeah. For example, we were using for our show, we were even experimenting with like pads for lips.
Oh.
Yeah, because I wanted to test it because I was 100% comfortable doing just like a lip like kiss for certain reasons, and we were just experimenting with the masks where you just put a transparent mask on the lips and the actors kiss.
But isn't that contradicting to the fact that you're trying to create a real, feeling towards in between the actors, and then you're
I think
putting...
it's so flexible. At the end of the day, it is acting, right? It's like then I can ask with the script itself is interfering in the idea of trying to create reality on the screen. So it's so adaptable. Yes, actually, in some cases it can be. In some cases, the actors can really work with it. Some actors say, I don't want any of that. I'm comfortable with this, with this, with this. They will say to intimacy coordinator that I am okay, this is my boundaries. Intimacy coordinator will take them sometimes through the workshops just to understand what's their boundaries in. Maybe they don't want to be touched. Maybe they are not comfortable to be touched here or here for certain reasons. They don't want to overcome it. They don't want to change that. So then intimacy coordinator will tell this to intimacy director. Intimacy director will tell this to the director. And director can't force them, the actors, to do something they don't want to do. So I think it depends. A lot of people look at it as restrictions. I look at it as freedom. Because instead of just working with someone who's super uncomfortable doing something, and I feel like I'm forcing you to explore things you don't want to explore right now, maybe later, but not now. And ability to say no or to say, I'm not sure. And I can ask you, can we work it out? Can we try? And you'll say, okay, fine, let's try. And we'll work it out. You're still uncomfortable. Then I will find the replacement for that. Our imagination is so vast that we can always find replacement instead of just like forcing someone to do something they don't want. So it's all, I think, about how we can adapt to the realities to make someone feel comfortable and safe.
Right. All right. Now let's go on your journey, just to understand how it happened for you here and what was that decision. I think you were invited by a school in Gwalior. That's how it began, right?
Yes, yeah. I was invited to teach philosophy and theater by Sindhya School, boys boarding school.
Right.
And I was supposed to stay there for 6 months, but then it became 1 year. And I had an incredible experience of directing like 300 boys on stage where I could just like use any equipment I wanted. Like I wanted to make it like with big scale, with water, with fire. And the school gave me the opportunity. So
that's great on schools. We have
incredible. It was like super inspiring. Yeah. And there I met Jyoti Sindhya, who asked me to stay for another 6 months. I stayed and I directed more plays. I met Anand Mahindra, who was also, I think, trustee of the school. And he told me about Bombay and he loved my play. And he said that I should continue exploring filmmaking if I want to go into films or theater and continue being theater director. And he said, but if I want to be in India, I need to explore the country. Like, so you should just jump on the train and just go around the country, explore it. And I don't know, there was like metaphorical advice or literal, but I just like heard it. And I just jumped on the train. And almost like for 1 month, I was traveling around.
Oh, you actually did
that?
Yes.
Yes. Now I'm wondering whether he was just joking or he was just saying, explore it. He didn't mean that I will literally do that. And I think that time was incredible because my connection with India, with the language, with people, with, I don't know how to explain, with the soil, with the smell of the soil became so strong that I started coming up with so many different ideas for feature films, for series, music videos. I still remember I was on the train and I was writing on my notes idea for a feature film. So for 5 hours, I wrote the entire film, even not knowing exactly how to format it, how to write it. But since then, I knew that I have a very strong connection with India. And when people ask me where I'm from, for me, it's so difficult to say that because I am Ukrainian and I am Indian. and it's like equally part, because at the end of the day, this is the country that I matured in. I made my films, I became who I am, and I feel very strongly for it. So in a way, I have like two homes. And then I came to Bombay. I've done a short course of screenwriting. Then I started teaching at Whistling Woods.
Okay.
So I taught for 3.5 years there, several subjects. A lot of students of mine, they became my ADs and they worked, they assisted with
But
me.
by this time, you wanted to get into the film industry and create films?
I think it's because of theater, I wanted to explore filmmaking and direction of filmmaking. It was, it wasn't a very clear path. It's not like, okay, now I want to become a director.
Okay.
It's like, I want to be in arts. I want to create. I love being on stage as a director. I love directing, and I want to explore any field that allows me to discover that process of creation.
Right.
I remember I applied actually not for screenwriting first. I applied for documentary filmmaking.
Okay.
And then the course didn't happen, and I was the only person who applied. I'm like, oh, okay. And then I was like, okay, fine. Then what should I study next? So I checked the next cheapest course.
The screenwriting.
It was screenwriting, of course. So I'm like, okay, great, amazing. If it would have been sound design, the cheap course, I would have applied for that, I guess. So then screenwriting, I start exploring that. I start writing, and that process was very unique, important, unusual.
How did you tackle the language problem?
I think after spending 1 year in Gwalior, it definitely gave you much more experience with Hindi than Bombay.
Okay.
Because most of the people in Mumbai, they speak English. Or like in our circles, they will, of course, Marathi, but most of the people just speak English. I think if I would have been in Delhi, my Hindi would have been right now incredible. So, yes. So when I was studying there, I connected to the language. I started learning it. I speak several languages. So I speak 5 languages.
Wow.
So I think the structure, the system of the language was ingrained in me.
Which languages?
I speak Ukrainian, Polish, unfortunately Russian,
We'll get on that also.
German, Hindi.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah.
And it's interesting to meet people who like to speak different languages. And
I love languages. I think when I was shooting my project in Punjab, so we spent 3 months, and it was Hindi Punjabi language, was mixed. Most of it was Hindi, but like with Punjabi touches. And I was working a lot also with Punjabi actors, and some of them didn't speak Hindi. So I had to communicate with them like Hindi/Punjabi. And by the end of the shoot, by the end of the 3rd month, I started understanding Punjabi. And that was very inspiring, because I think each language has, it's like its own world. When you start grasping certain details of the language, you feel that you're entering some other space.
Right. And even I feel, even if I was born in Delhi, and even if I have to play something probably like a Bengali character or something Marathi character, so for me also it is very like a big jump culturally also. So I think that advice of going around the country, and it's actually very
no, absolutely. And you can express same thought in so many different shades, right? And different languages just helps you to see the linguistic opportunities to say something in so many different colorful ways. And this is what I love about the languages. I think it's like doors to another world.
So is it right to say that Anand Mahindra influenced you to stay back in India? To some extent.
To travel the train, absolutely, yes.
Okay. And so coming now from that to opening a production house here, and you are the co-founder of Jugaad Motion Pictures, and one of the most sought after production houses for actors. And so how did that happen? Like, where did that idea come from, and why the name, first of all?
We were shooting our first film, 3.5, Tino Radha, and before that, because it was a tricky concept when the entire film is being shot in 3 long takes without cuts, we had difficulties to finding producers, financiers, studios who can just like jump on board. And I remember we went to see Anurag Kashyap. We told him about the idea. He really liked it. He read the script, and we asked him, "So what next?" And he said, "Yeah, what's next?" We're like, "What do you mean? So will you come on board?" He's like, "Yeah, absolutely, I'll come on board." We're like, "Okay, so what next?" I'm like, "What next? Make the film." And we thought that he will help. And his idea was that if you're a filmmaker, you will find the ways how to make a film. Because he said it is a tricky industry. It's not about just you making one film. It's about you getting into the habit of making films. Whether you have money, you don't have money, you have support, you don't have support, figure out how to do it. Zero budget, put crew together, find different ways of engaging specialists that you need in your film, on pro bono bonus, give them something back, etc., etc. But if you can't make a film, how can you be a filmmaker? How can you ask someone else will have to step into your shoes and make a film? Okay. And I remember it was on the one hand disheartening and at the same time so inspiring. Now when I look back, I realize that it was the only right advice, because no matter whether you are just starting out or you're super experienced director or producer, it's always very difficult to make a film. Even when you're making a film, despite of your budget, you never know how it will come out. It's still magic, it's still hope, it's still coincidence, miracle when it comes the way you want it, or it doesn't come the way you want it. It has so many different puzzles that you have to put together, and you never know whether it will actually happen or not. So I think once you do your first feature film or even a short film, you realize that you start having respect even for filmmakers whose films you don't like that much, because you realize that to make any film, it's a lot of efforts, a lot of human time, human efforts, human emotions. And that advice gave me, in a way, understanding of the industry, understanding of myself throughout my journey. And I keep reminding myself about that. It's just, even when I feel like complaining, I feel like finding excuses of not making something, I remember that advice, and it's true. If you're a filmmaker, you'll find the way how to make it. Yes, it's difficult. Yes, it's tricky, but you'll find the way. So after that meeting, we're like, okay, fine, what's next? I guess we need to put a team together. So we were finding the crew. We were looking for people who loved the idea, who would want to involve. It was almost zero budget. We put our own money. We asked everyone around. We've done crowdfunding campaign. And then finally, when we were on the set and we were writing bills for certain equipment, and they asked us, what's the name of our production house? And we just look around how everything is functioning, how everyone is running around, how we're just trying to find some lens from some one Jugaad camera. We're like, it's Jugaad. Like, yeah, let's just write Jugaad. And from that, everything happened. And it just became Jugaad through and through. Because Jugaad is the only way how you make a film. Correct. Whether you're making a Marvel film or you're making super independent indie film.
At every level, there's Jugaad. Yeah. But wow, it's like a big jump to, like your first film and presented by Anurag Kashyap, and then you have all these respectable actors. And you know what? It's very interesting. So I went to meet MK Rana sir, I think 1.5 years back. It was just like out of just a normal chat and something about theater. And he was just explaining me how he chooses scripts and all. So he just casually said, a few days back, a girl came and she was explaining me, she's not from India, and then beautiful script and everything shot at once and this, that. And yet, now when I got to know about the film and its stars, then I reconnected it. He's talking about you. So that's, you knew them, you went to all these actors.
I didn't know anyone. Okay. And we just started going to the actors one by one. We met even Vinod Khanna.
Oh.
And he was excited to do that. And he said yes, and then his health became worse, and then he couldn't maintain the entire one long take. But at that point of time, I think we met all possible actors that we could afford and not afford. And I remember one really big actor whom we approached said yes. It's like, the only thing, you need to fly me down in business class from wherever he was. And it was like business class ticket, right? Like one ticket. And that decided everything. We couldn't, at that point in time, we couldn't find money for ticket. We had to say no to him because we didn't have money for an actor, just for a ticket. So yeah, so we were just looking for anyone who would say yes, who would see the benefit. Because at the end of the day, whenever you're doing zero budget film, it's important for you to create the atmosphere where people who are involved, actors, your technical crew, will benefit from it as well. Yes, you can't afford monetary compensation, but you need to find creative compensation. You need to find something that they will feel they're getting even more than you are taking from them.
Right.
So I think that balance is very important to strike. And it's never easy. My dream was to make a feature film. I made a feature film, and then your next question, now what? We started applying to different festivals, and we realized that the budget just for festival application is huge. Like every application is like $50, $60, $100. So I remember for a month, every day, I would be sending around 300 emails, copy paste, Control C, Control V, Control C, Control V, asking for a waiver.
Okay.
And I was approaching all the festivals, from like the weirdest ones in some village in even France. So each and every festival I will be sending it to, and we'll be sending the film to whoever will accept it or give us a waiver, because we didn't have budget for festivals. And then once it went to Kerala Film Festival, it was very interesting experience seeing people who would be like lining up for your film. And for a young filmmaker, it was very exciting when you are being driven in the rickshaw, and the rickshaw driver is going to see your film, because he also bought the tickets for it. And I think the entire atmosphere in Kerala is incredible. Like their love for cinema is very inspiring. And so then it went to different festivals. It picked up.
But they did respond. At least some of them.
Of course, when you see people laughing and crying at the film that you thought that, what if no one will respond? It's encouraging. Of course, you see all the mistakes that you've done, some that you would have done differently. But I think just the courage is going there and do it is very important. And very important to support yourself in that courage. And once that went to the festivals, we sold it to Netflix. And after that, I started working on my second feature film. Second feature film, again, was just super small crew. We shot for 1 month in Ladakh. And it was like road trip film, Namdev Bhau. And that went to bigger festivals. That went to Busan, that went to Palm Springs, to BFI. I had my main actor, Namdev, who was actual driver. He never left Mumbai in his life, and here he's sitting on the plane, he's going to Stuttgart, he is going to BFI, he's walking the red carpet with Keira Knightley, and he's like, he doesn't understand why she gets so much attention. So that was just so inspiring. Hating food, everything, whatever we gave, he's like, I want to go back to Bombay. Okay. But I think that, again, experience gave me so much inspiration of just seeing that. Of course, you want to see results, but just the process of shooting, the process of seeing yourself involved, your actors involved, and your life changing for that particular time, even if just 1 month, it's worth the suffering that you're
that's true. That's
taking. And I think once that went to the festivals, a certain reputation was created for ourselves, and people start getting to know about our production house. We were approached for music videos. We started doing music videos, then we started doing ads, then we started doing more long format. So it's, in a way, it grew, but it's never easy. Just somehow you always feel that once I make my feature film, my second feature film, once I will start doing ads, everything will be just so easy. Because our idea of starting Jugaad was just because we were knocking so many doors, and somehow none of the doors were like opening to us. And then we thought that, okay, fine, if we can't open any of the doors? Should we build our own door? Maybe it'll be Jugaad door. It won't be that fancy and big. Won't be glass. Even if it's a plastic door, but let's make it. And this is how we created our own bubble inside the industry.
Right. Wow, but that's actually inspiring because I meet a lot of filmmakers, a lot of writers who have written a lot of stuff. But sometimes I think it's just become the notion of the industry is such that no one will do it. No one, but at least if you try for 50 or 100, you at least get good 5 people who will collaborate with you.
It's so difficult. On the one hand, yes, no one will be doing it. No one. It's very difficult to find someone who wants to take the chance because it is a tricky industry. It is a very hard system to enter because yes, there are gatekeepers. Yes, there are money-oriented system and formula-oriented system. Can you break it? Can you not break it? I don't know. Sometimes it's luck. Sometimes people come and just like they take over.
Yeah.
Sometimes you are just knocking at the door and you're not able to do it. What I realized for myself, because I went through different phases where I was super romantic, then I was super doubtful, that I was super disappointed, then I was hopeful again. I realized that I'm here to create. And some people will like it, some people will not like it, some people will find me talented director, some people will think that I can't shoot to save my life. But that's the only thing that makes me feel alive. When I'm on the set or when I'm in front of my laptop and I force myself to write, this is where everything just being awakened inside me. Doesn't matter whether I'm in the phase of my life when everything is happening just so easy and with so much luck, or everything is failing and nothing is happening the way how you want it, and you have so much of rejections. I realize that the only stable thing I have in my life is just ability to create.
Right. Well, I started just questioning my genuine approach towards this craft and everything. Why I started, but it's
And sir, I just feel like I keep repeating this like to different people in different interviews that nowadays we don't have excuse of not doing something because you have technology around and phones and mobile.
well, that's true. Yeah.
But at the same time, I think I keep repeating it because I want to remind myself that this is how I should think.
No, I think that is required for us as artists. We have to constantly remind because, again, like you said, the
and yourself,
challenges, yeah.
because I think whoever gives interviews or speaks to people, when you are at the party and just say you had a drink, and there is a certain things that you keep repeating to everyone, like I don't know, I will create revolution in the industry, etc. So we need to change something. So there's certain things that all of us, we have patterns to say certain things and repeat, right? And
it's more for us than for them.
Yes, we're actually doing it for us to remind that no, this is my hope. I will do it, even if you know that. Oh my God, people just you just keep repeating the same things, and people think that you won't ever succeed. But doesn't matter. You just repeat your philosophy.
It's a very tricky space
to
to
yourself.
be in because also like as artists, we're also kind of seeking validation constantly.
No, great, exactly.
Yeah.
But if you realize that, then you're like, so then you don't want to be a filmmaker. You just want to be a validation acceptor. Then this is what's important for you. And when I realized that, I kind of felt bad. I'm like, no, I just want to create. And it means that whether it's coming out, it's not coming out, whether people love it, people don't love it, you just continue doing what you think is right and continue polishing your skill.
Okay. Wow. Let's talk about your music videos. To be honest, like just as a viewer, I think they're some of the most creative music videos I've seen in the country. And I mean, I'm sure you know the outcome of it gives, again, the discussion we are having, the validation and everything. They are a proof of that. And what's your process like when you're thinking about a music video? And like you also mentioned that Shakun Batra called you for music videos initially. So what is that like? You think that you're doing it differently perhaps, or you're doing it right?
I think like doing it right, it's a very tricky term because what is right? I think it's like do it you, like do it your way, do it like not just your way, but how to create something which is you. That you feel empathy towards, that you feel disturbed by, that you feel excited or inspired by. When you write something and it's a comedy, for example, and you don't laugh while reading the script, means it won't work for anyone either. So when I write music video, usually I listen to the song, I just like walk around, I go for a run or I go for a walk. I will walk in the house just listening to the same song and just thinking of different images that come to me. Usually it's like a dream, like when you sleep at night and just like you see and you just observe different stories that unfolding in front of you. I think the process is similar. You just allow your brain to go wild and to dance to the music that you're listening to, right? And it will just create different bizarre visions.
Yeah.
And you just see what vision makes sense for you and what you feel excited by, inspired by. You take that idea and then see how you can create structure in a way that it makes sense, it's inspiring, it's interesting, the concept inspires you. Till now, most of our work was like story oriented, where you have like very clear beginning, middle, and end. It was following just screenwriting standard structure.
Must be but more creatively, freedom wise in terms of creating a feature film, a music video.
I don't know, like I just think it's so different. Like if I need to compare when I work for ads, music videos, or feature films, I don't think that I'm more restricted somewhere in one way or the other. It's still the same. I mean, in the ads, you have clients who will tell you, oh, we don't like this, we don't like that. But in music videos, you have musicians, you have artists, clients who will say, yeah, maybe not, maybe yes. In feature films, you have the studio execs, producers. So you are always restricted on if you look at it from one side, but from another side, you are getting opportunities to hear so many different opinions. And if you are working with people who are ready to adapt, then it's a great collaboration. Like I had great collaboration with Prateek Kuhad when I was sharing my idea, and he was sharing what he feels towards it, and I was using his feelings to use it in the film that I was developing. Same thing, I think, with feature films when you work with the actors. So it's all about like the question of dictionary. Is it restriction or it's opportunity to explore something new and to push your own boundaries? Right. So that's why I think finding right collaborators who understand that we're not just debating or it's just ego battle. We're just trying to find more and more shades in the story. Like with Ritviz, it was very interesting collaboration where he was completely trusting the process, where he would have completely different vision for a music video. He would had different story, and I would tell him, just listen to mine, just see if this will work for you as well. He will listen. He's like, oh yeah, even I see that as well. So then when you're able to be flexible to adapt, it's always leads to a good collaboration. So once I have a concept, once I put it as a screenplay, I narrate it to a couple of people, I see their reaction, and it's very easy. If you see the person is like, oh, really? Right, and you see fire in their eyes, you know it works. If they're like, yeah, oh yeah, very interesting. You're like, oh no, it's not working. You're going back to the writing table and you rewrite things that you think were not working. But I think just you yourself being excited by your idea is very important. Because sometimes we're just following the formulas of, oh, this is just the story about breakup. Yeah, but what breakup? Is it your breakup? Is it parents' breakup? Is it a breakup of your best friend? What kind of breakup? There's so many different shades of the same drama, same stories. And if you don't feel for it, you won't feel it on the screen either. Then it will be like any other story just being
but
told.
But you find it getting repeated after a point as an artist, just like your ideas? I mean, first few times, of course, you're doing, but like after a point, it just gets kind of stuck.
It's an interesting question. I don't know. Internally, I don't feel it. Maybe externally, someone will feel it, but internally, you continue exploring different ways of different kinds of relationships or different kinds of stories.
Right.
It's like just think about like when you date someone, you must be dating like 20 people or 10 people or 5 people in your life, or one person, and that experience would be completely different from your previous experience,
Right.
or from your expectation of the experience. So is it repetition? No, it's different every time, but we need to find what's that different, like how fast your heart is beating, right? It continues beating in the same way, faster or slower, but does it react to certain triggers? How does it react to what, to who? This is what we need to capture, and this is what I love finding and capturing.
So, how much of do you think that being from Ukraine affects your filmmaking, or does it have any cultural impact when you're thinking of ideas and?
It's like your taste, right, which is being formed by the way how your mother spoke to you, what she showed to you, what she fed you. It's ingrained in you, right? It's very difficult to, once you do, amras, it's very difficult to build mango back again, right? It's like there are different pieces there. And then if you also add some sugar or some dahi, I love dahi with amras. It's very difficult to then separate different, just to see how your taste got impacted by, is it more sugar or more dahi or more mango? It's everything, of course. All our experiences, our parents, if we have siblings, our friends, our experiences, our traumas, everything affects the way we speak, what we feel, our empathy or absence of empathy, what we want to create, what kind of stories we want to tell. So each and every experience is unique. So of course, the fact that I'm born in Ukraine, that I was studying at my university, having experiences in theater, coming to India, all this was forming certain impression on my work or on the interest for certain stories that I have. It's part of it. It's just very difficult to differentiate what it would have been if I would be from other country, if I would have been born here. There is certain, I guess, like spirit that we have that would have been there regardless of where you are born or who you are, what's your background. But all the experiences that you're going through in life, of course, it leaves certain impression on you, and sometimes you don't know about it. Like, think about what kind of films you like to watch, because films that you like to watch, not from professional experience, because when as a professional you watch the film, you can't just say, oh, I love the film, I don't love the film. That's different. You experience it to understand something, but when you watch it just as a usual audience, when I watch the film as a usual audience, I like something or I don't like something depending on the experiences that I had, and therefore I can connect to certain things or can't connect. Think about some bizarre film that you loved, and if you go back, you realize you love it just because of maybe a scene that reminds you of your childhood, or a smell that you experience in your childhood, or just the animal, something. So it's always part of it. So I guess everything, whatever I am right now, it's combination of all those experiences that I had. And also coming from another country, when I'm being asked, so how were you able to adapt to India? India is so diverse, it's so big, it's so rich in culture, in history, in different traditions, different rituals, different family traditions, that even though you're coming as a foreigner here, as a marginal here, you're not feeling like you're being outcast. You're not feeling that you're being an outsider, because the country itself is built from so many beautiful puzzles that come together as one united country, right? So I think this is what I feel about myself, where I'm built from so many different puzzles and cultures, but it makes me who I am.
Correct. And I mean, you can choose not to answer this, but just like whatever happening is happening in Ukraine, and our entire world geopolitics is kind of right now very messed up. What is it? What is the feeling of a person whose country is at war, and the country is not doing great? And I mean, I've personally never had that opportunity to just interact with someone, and that is why I'm a bit curious about the fact that what goes on in the mind, because we just read it on news and we just kind of just watch different experiences. But if you could just share something about it.
I mean, it's horrendous. It's terrible. I never thought that I will experience war, and it will be something that which will be part of my life and will be ingrained in me. It's a tragedy. You are not able to separate yourself from it. Like when people say that, oh, you know, there is just war happening somewhere, we just hear that as a fact, right? Or as an event. But when you know that your friends are there, your parents are there, uh, the universities, schools, streets that you were walking on, and then you have a strong connection towards, are bombed and they don't exist anymore. It's very difficult. It's like for the first time you actually face idea of destruction of on different level. Like if before my biggest fear, like it's like animal fear that you have, is fear of death. But when you face the war, when you experience the war, when you hear those blasts in the background, or you hear the siren um, in your city just warning you that there is a missile just about to come, it's not just about fear of death, it's about fear of destruction on much larger scale.
Yeah.
So you're not just afraid of being dead, you're fear of everything being destroyed. And that's very scary, because I remember, because of our history that Ukraine had, being unfortunately next to the neighbor that we had throughout, it was always history of terror that my grandmom went through, where at night you would fear that someone would knock at your door, because it could be a secret police that would just take your husband away. What happened to my great grandmother, her husband was just one night taken away because of the anecdote that he shared with someone, right, on the government, and that's it. And he never came back, and he was killed. And next day, my great grandmother woke up with like hair left on her pillow, because she was just so nervous, right, throughout. So because of that, because hearing those stories, hearing the stories of the tanks on our streets in our village, I would be always growing up with that fear. When at night I would hear the heavy truck going through our streets, and my heart will sink just because of the memory of the stories that my grandmom used to tell us, right? And suddenly now all those stories came back, where unfortunately it's not just memory of the memory of my grandparents, it's my memory as well. Because when you come and you go, you come to your favorite city, you are in Kiev, and you go to sleep, and at night at 4 a.m. Russians are just bombing civilians. Why? Because they know that they are asleep, they are innocent, they won't have enough time to go to bomb shelters, and they're just bombing to scare us, to frustrate us, to kill us. And your choice is either to go to bomb shelters or to continue sleeping. And if at the beginning you just go to bomb shelters, but at some point of time you're getting used to this sound and to this fear so much that you just close the windows and you go back to sleep. And you're just like putting something on yourself, maybe like t-shirt or shorts, in case the bomb will just fall on your building, you won't be naked when you'll be found under the rubbles. So like these kind of thoughts that you're having in your head. And it's very scary when you come back and you see old women who are left their villages to come back to a city, because they were trying to escape Russian occupation. Otherwise they are raped there, they're killed there, they're tortured, and they're coming to Kiev without having anything, just like holding a goat, because they didn't want to leave the goat behind, right? So it's very scary, because for young people, you know that you can recover, but old people, they can't start a new life with so much ease, right? And I think just the scale and the human tragedy, um, it's something incomprehensible. Like I remember when my grandmom said that the most important thing for war never to start, and it was such a like strange sentence that I never could connect to. Now I understand that the war is the scariest thing that can happen in your life. Nothing can be scarier than that, because just the death, single deaths, it's a tragedy, it's trauma. But when you are in the war, you're losing not just yourself, not just peace of mind, you're every day you have a danger to lose someone that you care for, either your parents, your relatives, your memories, history, streets that you were walking on. So every day it's a possibility of destruction. And that's very scary, like just complete chaos. But at the same time, every time when I go back to Ukraine, even though you hear the sirens, even though you see young people, like your age actors joining the army, because there's no way for them to save their lives. Because if you don't join the army, your family might not exist anymore. Because when Russians come, they destroy everything they see. Unfortunately, we don't have a strong media representation of that. I have a best friend whose house was occupied by Russians. When she came there, everything was robbed. Everything was robbed. They shat on the floor, on her carpet. Why would you do that? It's just like bizarre, right? And then I met a couple of people there, old people who would be, they were there when Russians were next to them, under occupation. And the sniper was living in the house of my best friend. And every night, he would make sure that no one is coming out of the house. And once the villagers, they got permission to carry old woman who was dying because of the cold. It was during the winter time, and they didn't allow anyone to come out. So they got a permission from Russian soldiers to carry her from her house, where there was no light, no warmth, nothing, to their house. And when they start carrying her, the sniper just starts shooting at them for fun. So these are kind of stories, it just seems like propaganda, right? Like why anyone would do that? Doesn't make sense, but unfortunately they do that. And this is the reality that we are dealing every day. I have friends who are writers, directors who joined the war. You have Oleg Sentsov, famous director, Ukrainian director, went to all top film festivals. Right now, he's actually fighting at the front lines. All my friends who are not at the front line as well, they're donating to the army, because for them, it's the only way to survive. And it's unthinkable. So it is scary, and I can't find the right words to describe what you feel every day. It's like when the war started, my life got separated into halves. Till now, I always like my normal life, my shooting, my production house. And at the same time, I have my phone with all the news that I read every day. And your brain is half there. And then you also keep thinking, how can you do something? Can you help? Can you change something? And that also puts perspective into what we are doing, what we are worrying about. Now, when I look back in my life before the war, I'm like, what was I afraid of? What I was worrying? Why? Oh, I had so much anxiety. What anxiety? Like I had to find. I should have found the way to deal with it. I should have found the way to be stronger, or I don't know, to have professional help, but just not to rely on any weaknesses of mine as excuse of not doing something. Because when the big tragedy of, let's say, death or war comes into your life, this is when you realize the weight of it. Yeah. Of course, we can't undermine our inner turmoils, but once you start experiencing external ones, you realize that everything can be managed. Most of the things that we're going through can be managed, a part of things that you can't influence.
Yeah. So my parents are from Kashmir, and of course with the history and the background and everything. So I also kind of, because I was born in Delhi, so I have not witnessed any of it ever. But when you hear them, whatever they've gone through it, my parents or my families or relatives, whoever, so you just realize that there's such, like, it impacts you for life. It
absolutely
changes your notions. There's certain things you're so headstrong about, you cannot like undo it. And of course, it happens like that, and you can't really do anything about it. But yeah, you're right. It changes you for life, and it impacts everything you do in your life. It impacts your relationships. It impacts your choices. It impacts who you are, and also it makes you to choose who you want to be. Right, of course. Okay, so let's come back on the So, any just couple of last questions on a lighter note. Like, do you have any like any person, any artist you want to like would like to work with, or some production house now you're aspiring for, or something like that? Anyone on your wish list?
I have a lot of people on my wish list, and it will be everyone who aspires to be better every day and who have the skills to surprise themselves every day. So there will be so many musicians and actors and companies that just push the boundaries. So every time when I meet them, it inspires me to think differently, to create differently, and to collaborate differently.
Okay.
So I would say it's anyone. It's anyone who's really good.
Irrespective of the level they are at.
Yeah, of even professional discipline.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So just one last question, and it's primarily what we ask to every guest, and so our channel is called Milestone One on One. So that it's derived from that. So now, after all the work you've done, and so what is your milestone in life now? What do you look forward to? What do you aspire to achieve, perhaps professionally or personally? You're free to answer for both.
I would say just to gain freedom to create whatever I want and whenever I want.
Okay. Well, short and sweet. Yeah. All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
It was, I think, I mean, it's very inspiring, your journey, to be honest. Like you said, because we are in that circle, we always see there are a lot of excuses we can create for ourselves to not do certain something. And now, because we've spoken about the war and stuff, there are a lot of things we think they're big enough for us to suppress. But at the end of the day, when we realize the bigger picture and what we can do with it, that is what I think we should aim for as artists.
Yeah, because we don't have another option.
Yeah.
All we are left with in good and bad days is just to continue creating. Because this is what will save us.
True. All right. Thank you so much.
I was very excited to have this conversation because I think every conversation is just a reminder of what you need to continue doing. And I think we just will continue creating. Yes, thank you for that. I had a lot of fun. And please like, share, and subscribe to the channel.